You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
My guest on the Luxury Item podcast is luxury real estate titan and reality TV star Ryan Serhant, founder and CEO of his eponymous brokerage, Serhant, and star of hit reality series Owning Manhattan, which is now in its second season and streaming on Netflix. Ryan Serhant has closed more than $20 billion in lifetime sales in the U.S. and represented clients in record-breaking deals across the country, including the sale of the most expensive home ever sold in Florida for just under $140 million and 2 prime oceanfront lots in Palm Beach, Florida for nearly $200 million. Ryan first gained prominence as a cast member on American reality TV series $1 Million Listing New York. In September 2020, as the show wound down, Ryan launched his own luxury real estate brokerage, Serhant, which has since expanded to 14 states plus D.C., about 2,000 agents, amassed more than 10 million social followers, and produced award-winning marketing content and PR campaigns. Today, Serhant is one of the biggest firms in New York, and Ryan's goal is to be number one. Ryan Serhant's Netflix reality series, Owning Manhattan, became an overnight hit in 2024, ranking 3rd in the U.S. The show offers an inside look into the adrenaline-filled universe of high-stakes New York City luxury real estate, following Ryan and his elite army of agents as they face intense competition to secure the city's most exclusive luxury listings. Welcome back to the Luxury Item, Ryan.
Thank you so much for having me. Welcome back to the Luxury Item.
Yes, I know. I'm so thrilled to have you back on the show. The last time you were a guest on the podcast was in October 2020. You were making headlines about a month earlier, launching your own real estate brokerage, Serhant, smack in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic. The move marked a major shift in your career from top agent and TV personality on $1 Million Listing New York to co-founder and CEO of a multidimensional real estate firm, Serhant. And at the time, you spoke openly about the challenges and entrepreneurial risks of starting a new brokerage during a global crisis, as well as your own ambitions to disrupt the traditional real estate model. So let's fast forward 5 years. Was your playbook, your roadmap for 5 years accomplished?
I think my unspoken playbook in September and October of 2020 was to survive. I'm a professional optimist. So I always give myself moonshot goals because why not? But I really wanted to survive and thrive and grow in the market that I was in at the time in New York. I don't actually know if I believed at the time that we would be as large as we are today. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are 2 things that have happened that have allowed that to happen outside of just our work ethic, et cetera. One is just market forces. And at the end of 2020, the real estate market was completely obliterated, as were, the equities markets, et cetera. The world was completely shut down when we last spoke. And then very shortly thereafter, they started to kind of open back up. The most, I was doing probably a few rental deals to try to keep the lights on in our rented townhouse in our startup in the fall of 2020. And a couple months after you and I spoke, we sold the second most expensive home in the history of the United States in Florida because the market completely opened up and moved really fast. So I think we had the market as our tailwinds for the next couple of years before rates spiked up to 8% in kind of the middle of 2022. Yeah. And there's just been mass consolidation, right? And, just mergers and acquisitions across our industry and all industries that have just provided significant opportunity for us. So I always have a hard time saying no to opportunity, right? I'm more of I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I never tried kind of guy.
Yeah.
I think my staff wishes I wasn't that, because that just means there's so much more work for them. But, it's a process.
And you've publicly credited Serhant's rapid growth and durability in the last 5 years to an orchestrated ecosystem built on 3 pillars: resonance model, magnetic architecture, and compound culture, that the company operates using a holdco plus opco model, where a central holding company supports business lines like brokerage, creative studios, marketing agency, AI products, and ventures, all interconnected by brands, people, systems, and capital. It doesn't sound like your traditional brokerage company model.
Very, very simply, we we operate an ecosystem here. The core brand, Serhant, and its connection to real estate is the power plant. That power plant provides electricity to our divisions that are cost centers for our core customers, and to different departments and different C Corps and operating companies that create additional revenue that comes from the electricity that comes from those power plants, the power plant that we have. And it starts with what I call the residence model. Visibility is leverage, right? Resonance is power. So we create organic lead flow here, top of funnel, using our media engine of Serhant Studios, which is our production company, and ID Lab, which is our marketing agency. They don't just produce content, they produce frequency for brand creation. And that resonance for the brand at a global scale turns the brand into a magnet, which I'll talk about. But in reality, for anyone who's listening, who's building a business, it reduces CAC. My goal all day long is to have the lowest customer acquisition cost while also increasing trust at the same time. So that organic visibility, kind of top of funnel product that we put out there helps drive lead flow at a very, very reduced CAC. Magnetic architecture is going to bring everybody then together into the ecosystem to build for a compounding ecosystem, and not just for jobs. The old model of growth was linear, just hire as many people as you can, spend as many people as you can.
Yeah, ramp up, right?
Yeah, ramp. I think that's fine. I don't want to be memorable. I want to be magnetic. I don't want people just to remember me and then go hire somebody else. I want them to be drawn to us. And that's what pillar 2 is, right? Is that magnetic architecture. So each vertical we have, Simple, which is our AI workflow product for salespeople. It does back office administrative tasks for salespeople. New construction as an arm. The cloud foundation of our brokerage. All of that together drives kind of a magnetic desire to work for us and work with us, and then we compound across culture, right? We want everyone here to be a builder. Every anytime we have new employees start, which is feels like every single day now.
Mm-hmm.
We do kind of group Zooms because they're all over the country, and I let them know why we're here, what we're building, and how we're moving forward. And I tell them the most important thing I care about is their ability to invent. Like, wake up every day and be an inventor. How can you do what you're doing today a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit more fun, right? Like how can you think through problem sets in a way where your DNA is going to be in this business, and I'm going to thank you personally in the foreword to my memoir. Like, that should be your goal, right? When you write your life story about your time at this company, you're going to talk about the crazy things that you invented that pushed the industry and the business forward. And we have an entire culture here now because of that of builders and creators, and it compounds. And I think it's why our people stay, and I think it's why the brand grows, and I think it's why we're the most followed real estate brokerage on earth. And we spent $0 growing it.
And you launched a reality series on Netflix in 2024 called Owning Manhattan. The show follows you and your team of agents navigating the high-stakes world of New York City luxury real estate. It's like a blend of luxury real estate, competitive business ambition, and personal drama like any reality show. The show was well-received, and most agreed it captured the competitive, high-stakes world of New York City real estate. It's the second season already. So what did the show do for Serhant's social media engagement, and really more importantly, the business impact?
Oh, well, Netflix is the largest distribution funnel for content in the world. I would say for premium content. They have 300 million subscribers in nearly every country. Like, our life changed overnight when the first season of what's the show? Owning Manhattan. Of Owning Manhattan came out in June of 2024. It was complete insanity. Because it just put our brand and our story on a different level that we could never even reach through Instagram, through YouTube, through organic forms of marketing. $1 Million Listing did that for me too. $1 Million Listing, I did that show for 10 years, starting in, we started filming that show in 2010. It premiered in 2012. when that thing came out, it was a little bit slower because, broadcast cable, it doesn't hit everyone's phone all in one night. And that was before Instagram. But, slowly but surely, people became aware of my brand, and we were able to build a very large sales team on top of that exposure. And I'm doing the same thing now on the backs of Netflix, building a large kind of an industry defining real estate firm on the backs of Netflix.
And your leadership and management skills were on full display in season one. You set the tone by leading with energy and dedication and taking a people-centric approach and a strong focus on innovation and accountability. You expect your team members to mirror your work ethic and focus. How do you cultivate accountability on your team?
I'm very, very clear on goals and allowing people to help write their own goals and sign up for them. And then you hold them to their goals. And we don't negotiate with our goals here. We can negotiate on the path. We can negotiate on time. We can negotiate on process, which system to use, but we don't negotiate on the goal. If you are a part of signing up for your own goals, then you have to hit them, or don't, or don't, and then you don't have to work here. That's totally okay too. It's a free country. And so I hold people to, I wouldn't say I hold people to high standards. I say I hold people to our mutually agreed life moving standards.
Mm-hmm.
I want everyone here to grow. I want everyone here to build. And so if you don't know what you are capable of, then don't waste my time or money trying to figure it out.
And was the first season of Owning Manhattan a learning experience for you?
It is interesting to watch back myself kind of leading people, because I don't often do that in front of the mirror. And I try to be really, really fair with people, and I want people to grow and I want them to build. I love watching wins happen. It's like we have a weekly webinar here called Serhant Live, and we bring on special guests and things. And at the beginning of it, I always go through company wins, which is agent wins, and what we call the Serhant Effect, which is, they're agents who do, the biggest or the coolest thing they've ever done in their life. And they just did it here, and it's an effect of the brand. And so, yeah, I think the show has been very, very beneficial for people to watch it and understand the type of culture that they're going to enter, the type of person that I am to work for, and the things that I care about, right? And how busy we are. The amount of times people come here and they're like, "Yeah, I watched the show. I know you don't have a lot of time." Is pretty funny. And I kind of, like I was mentioning to you, I think earlier before we started the podcast, I've been the most surprised, not just about people's reactions to my leadership style, but to how many people classify this show as competency porn, and watching people who are really, really good at what they do it day in and day out. And then you have to contrast that with people who are really bad at what they do. And we have a little bit of that too. I think, watching the show has helped people not just learn how to negotiate deals and how to go after things in their own right, but has also helped people think through how to manage employees, right? How to hire, how to fire, how to promote. In season one of Owning Manhattan, we definitely have a handful of firings. We do fire 2 people on season one. Season two, I was never pushed to fire, but we got very, very close.
So all 8 episodes of season 2 of Owning Manhattan are currently streaming. I know it's quite challenging to get renewed, so congratulations on that. Since season 1, how has Serhant's real estate empire grown? And I know it has, in terms of new agents, new markets, et cetera.
I mean, in season 1, it came out in 2024, we had just basically opened up in a handful of different markets up and down the East Coast. Since then, we've now expanded into 15 states. We had a 1,500 person Netflix premiere party in December. So, I guess 2.5 months ago now. That was a lot of fun with agents from all around the country who get to be a part of, being in and around a TV show. I mean, that's also just, it's just like a fun, very, very different thing. If you're going to be a real estate agent at any company, Why not be at the one that has the absolute most global exposure for your brand and your properties? That's why we have the Serhant Effect here. But we're now in 15 states. We just opened Massachusetts. We just opened Boston. I'm opening 10 more states this year and continuing to charge forward. But I don't go into markets where we don't earn the right to be there.
Right.
I don't buy market share. I don't have a globe in front of me where I'm saying this is where we got to be, how we got to be there. We're going into markets based on certain criteria where there's enough demand for what we do. Otherwise, I don't need the stress.
And Serhant is also the exclusive brokerage handling sales and marketing for the new 67-story Mercedes Benz Places, which, for my listeners, the Mercedes Benz branded residence is currently under construction in Miami. It's Mercedes Benz's first residential project in North America. I was reading that you sold 100 apartments in the first 4 days. And for any of these luxury branded residences like Mercedes Benz Places, there's a perceived development quality risk, and wealthy buyers already know the service and design standards going in. This is very different than what you've been selling before. It has a built-in brand already. How is your sales approach different for Mercedes Benz Places, which already has this built-in advantage of a brand strength?
We are definitely a go-to for branded residences around the country. We're also, I don't know when this episode's going to air, but tomorrow morning I fly to Tampa. We're launching the first ever Roche Bobois residences in St. Pete. And we have a special musical guest performance by Ricky Martin, which will be nice and fun. You want to do the service to the brand. You don't have to educate the marketplace on what Mercedes-Benz is, like you would on a brand new brand that you're creating. But you want to do service to it so that it makes sense for the property, right? Mercedes-Benz is the luxury vehicle to get you where you're going. Now it's also where you're going, right? It's what do we even say? Because we're also doing Aston Martin residences in Daytona Beach. It's the drive and it's the destination, which I don't know, I think is super fun and very, very cool. But we market that at a global level, and we do so much of it over social. I mean, it's wild how we're able to kind of create so much awareness for that building at a global level. I mean, we've done deals with people there in over 40 different countries, and we sell it virtually overseas every single day. And I think Mercedes is also, they like us. We've been to their factory in Stuttgart.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a lot of work with them over there, and they were very grateful to kind of allow Mercedes-Benz to be on the show. There's an entire episode of Owning Manhattan Season 2 that takes place in Miami at that sales center. Gordon Wagner, the chief design officer, is on camera. They have the Silver Arrow car that they shipped in that's there. It's just really, really, really cool.
And there are so many of these luxury branded residences in the Brickell area. Are you finding yourself competing against them as well?
I think you compete. I don't, it's, we compete against every apartment building in Miami, because a buyer, they have a certain amount of money to spend or invest, and they look everywhere, but there's really nothing that stands out that is a direct competitor to Mercedes. It's like you either appreciate the Mercedes brand and the location and the value of the deal, or you don't.
You've been a big supporter of using AI and advanced digital technology to boost agent productivity and to reshape the client experiences. Could you talk about the wholly digital launch you took ahead of the on-sale suite opening at Mercedes-Benz Place?
Yes, we didn't have a sales office for the first year, and we sold 150 apartments completely virtually. We started with a virtual presentation over Zoom. We built a deep bench of interest across kind of a social media teaser campaign and an email teaser campaign and a PR teaser campaign. And then we did presentations in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And we sold the first 100 deals we did like in the first 2 weeks, I think it was. Maybe it was even a little less than that. It was nuts, completely crazy. And we kept it virtual and we kept it gated, which for us just allowed us to move that much faster. When you have a sales center like we do now, everybody wants to come to the sales center because they can. And if they can't make it today, oh, you know what? No, it's fine. No. It's okay. I'll come next Friday. And
Yeah.
now you've just lost getting a deal done today. When there are no sales centers, nothing to see. As long as you have good product, like there's no wasting time, right? You do a virtual presentation, you go through it. Everyone's in the comfort of their own home or car or office, and you're walking people through the opportunity, and they either buy or they don't buy. I loved not having a sales center experience. It's great. I mean, the sales center we have now is amazing. It's incredible. It's probably one of the nicest sales centers I've ever had the opportunity to work with. But it definitely does slow down process because people are obsessed with it and then they stay. You know, we have a Formula One simulator in the
Yeah.
sales center. So, we're trying to get somebody to select a unit and they're like, oh, but one more lap around the track. Okay, we get it.
I want to go back to New York City from Miami. And a couple of episodes into the second season really sets the story arc, centering on you shifting your focus to going on offense, if you will, in New York's luxury real estate market, setting out to dominate uptown and cement your firm's status as a top player. The premiere episode revolves around you recruiting a star sales director from legacy firm Corcoran for a high-profile 200 Amsterdam tower. It opens with you reflecting on the failure to sell the $250 million Central Park Tower penthouse and vowing not to repeat that embarrassment as you grow Serhant. Your main goal in the premiere is to secure 200 Amsterdam on the Upper West Side and use it as the anchor for conquering uptown against legacy firms. So looking back at the $250 million Central Park Tower penthouse experience, what did you change as your go-to market playbook for 200 Amsterdam that other properties in terms of selling strategy, pricing, positioning, velocity targets?
There's a couple properties. 200 Amsterdam is a condominium tower, Billionaires Row, but there's
Right.
no $250 million penthouse at that building. There's another property that we are featuring on season 2, 281 Park Avenue South, which is a building owned by Abby Rosen RFR, where I'd say the analogy is probably closer because we didn't have an asking price, and the asking prices would, if we did have an asking price, would be really, really high. And what I didn't want to do with that building, just like I did with CPT, is have a really high asking price. There's tons of press, there's tons of exposure. The whole world sees it, which means the whole world decides on their own time and in their own narrative whether they like it or not. And the exposure is amazing, great. But if you're not getting a deal done, who cares? And so with 281 Park Avenue South, I took the opposite strategy. No listing price, no incredibly loud announcement to drive traffic, and keep it really under the vest. Bring people through the property who can only afford it, and even if it's slower, you'll get a buyer who likes the exclusivity. And it's hard to say which strategy is better. It depends on the deal. We had offers. We had 3 offers on Central Park Tower. We just didn't accept any of them, and we could never bridge the gap. People were just too far away. And at 281 Park Avenue South, I think we have a deal we're working on right now. When that deal gets done, it'll feel like that was the better strategy, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure.
The past decade was a roller coaster ride for New York City's luxury housing prices, which are fast approaching new heights. And at the end of last year, the median price for a luxury home in Manhattan, defined as the top 10% of the market, was, I think it was like $6.4 million. That's down from 3.5% from 2016, but up more than 6% from 2024, according to Douglas Elliman. So if the city's Wall Street-fueled housing boom continues, do you see Manhattan's luxury home prices hitting new heights in the near future?
I think there's another layer here with the current administration, the current mayor, and if it becomes more and more difficult to create luxury housing, then it's just a supply and demand conversation. If there is less supply for a certain section of buyers, it's just going to push pricing on everything that is currently available or in the ground to be built and to be made available. So no, on season 2 of Owning Manhattan, we sold an apartment on Charles Street in the Village for $60 million. And it's the most expensive deal ever done in Lower Manhattan. I never thought someone was going to spend $60 million for a condo downtown. And now, within the past 6 months, I mean, that deal is now chopped liver. Someone just spent $130 million at a new development on Clarkson Street, 2 blocks away. It kind of remains to be seen what's going to happen. But no, I don't think there's any slowdown to luxury pricing. I think people look at luxury real estate like gold. I think it's a preservation of assets, and there is limited supply of great product, and wealthy people need a place to put their money.
Well, I want to talk about the current administration. All that fear of Mayor Mondani's fueled wealth exodus from New York City seems to have been overstated. So were you concerned about his policies, like the new millionaires tax was going to really upend the market?
Not really. I think that it's not the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think it just is. It's another straw, you know,
Yeah,
that just continues to make New York City slightly less desirable for those who create dollars. You got to treat cities like corporations, okay? Whether you like it or not. The human species is an incentivized species. Otherwise, we would not be here through a process of evolution. So you look like a state like Florida, and every new politician that comes into Florida they're trying to one up each other with how much better they can make that state to work in and build business in. All right. It was already one of the best tax states to be in. And now you've got them coming in saying, what else can we do to make this even better for our residents and for new people who come here? Why not remove property taxes? Right? New York, California, Washington, they look at it completely different. We're the best. We're the best. What are you going to do for me today? Instead of waking up every day and saying, you're the best, what can I do for you today? And I think that's how you have to look at your residents if you're a mayor or a governor. And I just think New York City has a hard time with that. Now, New York is a one of one on Earth. It's the only New York City in the world, and people love it. Does that mean it'll be what it is today in 100 years? I'm not sure. If you remove everybody that pays all the bills, probably not. But all you've seen is a rebalancing of dollars, right? If taxes go up, everybody pays for it, not just
right.
the wealthy people. Like, the mayor came out recently and, in his Trump version of being a tough guy
Yeah.
against the governor, said, well, if you're not going to give me what I want, then I'm going to raise property taxes by 10%, which you just don't do. Who do you think is going to pay for it? It's not the landlords, whether it's a small business owner or not, right? It's the tenants. That's who pays for it. Like, what do you, so, I don't know.
And all the rents would go up because the
Of
property
course,
owners, right, they're going to push it back to to the renters.
always.
And of course, we're living in a time where cash is king. Higher mortgage rates and increased construction costs due to tariffs have really not deterred all cash luxury buyers. So who's buying luxury real estate in New York City these days?
It's everybody. It's everybody. I mean, I'm surprised every day by the level of buyers. We have, there's high finance always. Tech has been a huge sector recently. I'd say the other big buyer right now is parents.
Hmm.
You have to think about the real estate market. Like why are we where we are? It's like a movie. How does any superhero movie start? With the origin story? Like, why is this guy dressed as a freaking bat? Okay, let's go back to the beginning and we will show you the origin story. Right? What is that origin story?
Yeah.
You do the same thing in any market. So what is the origin story of the housing market? Why do we have mortgages in the first place? Why are rates set the way they are in the first place? On a mortgage, like what is a 30-year fix? Why do we even have it? Like
Mhm.
what to whose benefit? What is the arm's benefit? The capital gains exemption for primary residence holders set in 1997 in the IRS code hasn't been changed. That was 30 years ago, right? The median price of a home back then was $147,000 plus minus. So the housing market, the origin story, was created in a post-war economy to create stability, which makes a lot of sense. Stability. Don't move. The American dream. a job, a pension, right? 2.2 kids, and the bank is going to help you have your house as well, as long as you have equal monthly installments for the rest of your damn life. Okay. And so the market was built, and the system was really, really built to to in the favor of not moving. The problem is that what does that do? That punishes mobility. You can't have one without the other. And so when you have a market like we've had coming out of COVID, you go back to the origin story and you say, this is really why we have a locked-in effect. This is why the market isn't moving. This is why pricing is where it is, because it was set up that way. It was built that way. And so, roundabout answer to your question, the biggest buyer base we have right now, I think maybe even a little bit out of guilt, are the baby boomers and the Gen Xers from that generation who are buying homes for their kids because their kids can't afford it, right? Because they've created this environment. And so it's called the great wealth transfer.
Yep.
But it's almost like the great wealth forgiveness. I'm sorry. Here you go. I'm gonna help figure this out.
So what type of homes are typical luxury buyers at the $10 million plus gravitating to these days? Is it more the move-in ready design trophy homes, the view, the address, architecture uniqueness, or is it more lifestyle driven, focused on privacy, services, extensive wellness?
Wellness is a currency, so there is a big fact, kind of a big push towards wellness. The number one thing is always going to be light and air and space to grow. Moving is really expensive and it's real brain damage. So the space to grow and the space to push things forward, to have kids, to have a home office, space to build. So we see people right now, they want great light and air. If they're going to be spending all this money every single month to live somewhere, the more amenities, the better, because they feel like they're getting what they're paying for. With room to build a family, with room to build a business.
And I'm sure you've seen a clear rise in millennial and even Gen Z participation in the luxury real estate segment, many helped by high incomes and, intergenerational wealth transfers, as we were talking about. What trends are you and your team seeing with younger buyers?
They don't care as much about anything, for one. Two, they're kind of agnostic to renting or buying. It's a monthly payment regardless. So what does it matter if I'm borrowing an apartment to rent or I'm borrowing this space from a bank and from the government because I'm paying taxes on it anyway? So again, what's the difference? Potentially, sure, if I can play the appreciation game, maybe I can get paid for owning the property down the line, but it's not a given, right? It's not the rule. And so we do see them being more agnostic to whether renting or buying, regardless of what the upside might be. And they're mobile, right? Younger buyers are mobile. I think even when I first started in the business in 2008, younger buyers were thinking about getting married. They were thinking about having kids. They were thinking about, I want to buy a 1-bedroom, but I probably should buy a 2-bedroom because it'll make sense, like we were just talking about. But buyers today are, they're not thinking 8, 9, 10 years in the future anymore. They're thinking 2, 3 years into the future. So what makes the most sense for the now and not the later? So there are different kinds of conversations that we're having.
There was an article in Fortune several months ago talking about how many ultra-wealthy individuals and young professionals who moved to the suburbs or coastlines like Florida or California for a better work-life balance during the pandemic are now returning to major cities, especially New York City. And this trend is driven less by employer mandates to return to office and more for a desire for proximity to career opportunities and job market security. Is that something you're seeing?
A little bit. I don't think it's a trend. I think people move. I think anyone who moved out of an urban market due to COVID might have made an impulsive decision and is coming back. The same way lots of people get married in an impulsive decision and doesn't work out. So, we even before COVID, we were moving people out of the city and then moving them back into the city. So it's a little bit more now because there was just such a rush to get out of the city during COVID. But we see people just owning more houses now than ever before. I don't think I ever had this many clients who had more than 2 homes. It's like they have their pied-à-terres, they have their vacation homes, they have their primary residence, and sometimes people have, they'll own 2 or 3 secondary homes, but they rent their primary, and that's not a phenomenon, but I don't know. It seems more prevalent these days.
One thing that's been a core to your brand is storytelling. It's really been the foundation of your video and social media strategy for years, transforming real estate marketing into a highly immersive, emotional experience that goes far beyond just listing features and square footage. You give each property its own narrative that helps buyers form an emotional attachment and imagine their own future in that home. You also tailor stories to the aspirations and values or lifestyles of specific buyer segments. This personalization really deepens resonance and relevance with the audience, and many luxury brands are currently struggling with storytelling right now. And this challenge is impacting their relevance, desirability, and market performance. So when it comes to storytelling, what do you think luxury brands can learn from you?
My biggest focus is on authenticity. I think in a world that is now going to be even further plagued by AI slop,
Mhm.
no one knows what's true. No one knows what's honest. And that's why I do the reality TV shows as well, right? To make sure I
Yeah.
continue to spin my authenticity awareness wheel. That's really what it is. Um, uh, and I think big brands can learn from us that your product is a person. Your product's not the thing. Even if you're selling shoes or a service, sit down, write down who your product is. What's the name? What do they look like? What do they weigh? How much money do they have in the bank? What are they following on social? What movies are they watching on Saturday nights? Are they married? Are they single? Are they 12 years old? Are they 82 years old? And then how would you market to that person? That's your target demo. And you have to tell stories that that person wants to see, and they have to be authentic and they have to be messy. I think one of the reasons people are attracted so much to Serhant is, one, I think real estate brokers aren't looked at incredibly highly around the world anyway. Um, but if you're going to be in this business, right, not wearing a fake facade goes a long way. Showing people the failures, showing people the misses. I've written 3 books on sales. All 3 of those books are full of loss and what I learned from them. They're not full of deals I got done and yay,
Yeah.
hooray, right? That's not interesting. What's interesting is, man, that was tough, but here's what I took from it. And I think that's authentic. I think that's real. People want to connect, not just with a person, but they want to connect with a brand too. I mean, that's why you see the kind of how many creator brands there are now, because you've already connected with the person and you want to be like that person and you like that person. It makes you feel comfortable. So sure, I'll buy their clothes. Sure, I'll buy their perfume. What is a brand if it's not personal and not authentic? It's just a product. And I don't know about you, but I've never really emotionally connected to a product before.
So let's look ahead to the rest of this year into 2027. So even with global headwinds and limited inventory and high demand, do you see continued market strength in the next year?
Yes, I do. I think we'll see more inventory come to market, in part just because it has to. There's only so long people can wait to move. Rates being high or low, we've had so many people make the decision not to move over the past 3 years. They have to make decisions. So all of our markets are moving incredibly quickly. The markets that are not moving quickly are the in-betweeners, right? Where we have, let's say in Arizona, for example, our markets are moving quickly in luxury. But if you have a $600,000 home and there's 10 other $600,000 homes, like then it's just about price, right? And it takes time, and those buyers don't have urgency. So where are you going to create that urgency? And in luxury, for sure, it is being created whether we like it or not.
So, Ryan, my final question is the luxury item question, which I ask all my guests, and I asked you this 5 years ago, and I don't recall what you answered, but fresh start. If you were stranded on a deserted island and you could only have one luxury item with you, what would that luxury item be? It can't be any form of air or water transportation to get you off that island or anything that requires mobile service so you can call your team or your wife to get you off that island. You are stranded on this deserted island all by yourself, but you have one luxury item with you. What would that be?
Probably a TV so I can watch Owning Manhattan over and 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 over.
And remember the good times. Ryan Serhant, founder and CEO of Serhant and star of the Netflix series Owning Manhattan. Thank you so much for joining me on The Luxury Item.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.